Okay, so as I mentioned in my previous video, for us to be able to tackle this relevant costing analysis, we need to have a very clear understanding of what the company looks like and how the different divisions interact with each other. And this makes sense. I mean, in real life, that's exactly what you would need to be able to do, is understand the company. So that's what we're going to do here. And I've already started drawing the organizational structure just because it's a little neater than what I can draw myself. But let's take it from here. So in my mind, the board of directors represent the group as a whole. This company has 4 production departments: molding, electromechanical, accessories, and assembly. And what we really want to do is to what extent these divisions interact with each other, which would be internal transfers, and to what extent do the divisions interact with external customers, because that's really the sales that's relevant from a group's perspective. Okay, so what we also read is that the company has 3 supporting functions. We have the sales function, which this question really revolves around. Should we keep it or not? We have head office, which would do admin and finances, and we have the repairs division. And we read that molding has both external sales and transfers internally. So the units produced by molding is either sold externally or transferred internally. If you read the information, this internal transfer, these number of units that's transferred internally, either gets transferred to repairs or it gets transferred to assembly. So let's draw that in here. Molding either goes to repairs or it goes to assembly. And they tell us what that is. So repairs, they tell us, is, let's see here, on average 6%, 10% and 10% of the output of accessories, moldings, and electromechanical are sent to repairs. So that's 10% here. Okay, so we still need to figure out what's assembly, what goes to assembly. They tell us that 25% of assembly gets sent of molding is sold externally, which means 75% is transferred internally. 10% of that 75% goes to repairs, which means that 65% goes to assembly. Now, electromechanical, they tell us that 100% of our production would be internal transfers. And that would be, once again, we either send it to repairs or we send it to assembly. But what we do know is that none of our production in electromechanical is sold externally. Okay, so let's keep the color system consistent. So some of it to repairs and some of it to assembly, and we know that that would be, it tells us here 10% to repairs, which means that 90% goes to assembly. If we look at accessories, the information once again tells us that there are external sales, and then some are transferred internally. Now the internal transfer, let's get a different color, either goes to repairs or to assembly. They tell us the internal transfer or the external sales is equal to 70% which means 30% of accessories production must be transferred to assembly. And that is divided as 6% going to repairs and 24% the rest going to assembly. So that's repairs and that's assembly. Then we also read that assembly, all the sales for assembly obviously are external, because this is where the final product is made and that vacuum cleaner is sold to the customers. So it's 100%, and we know the status quo is that we would sell 13,000 units. So this means if we're selling 13,000 units in assembly, then molding, electromechanical, and accessories need to supply assembly with enough units or components to make 13,000 units. And so we know that this 24% internal transfer will equal 13,000 components. And the same for electromechanical, and the same for molding. And so this 24% is equal to 13,000 units. If we look at what happens if we outsource our function, we know they tell us that the number of sales of vacuum cleaners will increase by 7%. And this means that the other divisions need to supply enough components for this 7% increase. So here we're going to have a 7% increase. Here we will have a 7% increase, and here we will have a 7% increase. And this we can see in our analysis. Where is it? Yeah. So this 7% growth in sales volumes, we see the 7% increase here, and then these numbers, these four numbers, represent the variable costs of the four production divisions, which I've just showed you, where all those components need to manufacture in order to supply enough components for the 7% increase. So that comes through in these numbers. In the next video, we're going to look at, well, what is happening here, and try to figure out what these fractions represent.